Hey, you want to know about the weather? The weather is mostly going to be outside. I think you'll find that is correct. Britain's dry and calm weekend of weather is going to be brought to an abrupt halt as sub-zero temperatures and snow are forecast across large parts of the country.
Oh, no.
Yep. Heading into Monday and Tuesday, the Met Office has issued an alert for snow and ice for all of Scotland and most of Northern Ireland as the calm weather of the weekend takes a turn for the worse. 4 inches could fall over those 2 days, with forecasters warning of blizzards and frequent lightning strikes, which could cause power cuts and mass travel disruption. Temperatures around the country are expected to plummet following this week's relatively mild weather. It's been, outside, which is as much as you can hope for in the winter. Some parts of the country are expected to be gripped by lows of -6. Just when you thought that we got over the worst, it's back. Patchy mist and cloudy conditions are expected for many tomorrow. Into the afternoon, persistent rain will fall over western Scotland and Northern Ireland with strong winds, helping to bring some snow over the hills in the evening. It will always be raining in Glasgow.
Correct.
Wait a minute, I'll just check that. I'll check that while you wait. One moment, please. Raining tomorrow in Glasgow, and raining a lot on Monday, and a very great deal on Tuesday, and also raining on Wednesday. Wow, look at that. On Thursday you get a whole day of no rain. Neither will it rain on Friday, or Saturday, or Sunday. You're joking. Or Monday. Can you believe that?
No.
No. So those are your 3 or 4 days this year, you Glaswegians, where it will not be raining. Enjoy. For most people, a cloudy and wet night is expected on Sunday, with rain affecting virtually all regions by Monday morning. Overnight temperatures should plummet to -3. You know, the Meteorological Office forecaster Emma said, what's her job title? Oh, I'm glad you asked. She's the Meteorological Office forecaster. She said the police should have that as a roadside sobriety test. Hello, sir. Can you say meteorological... Never mind. On your way. Cold air is set to spread across the country overnight and into Monday, said forecaster Emma of the Meteorological Office. Meteorological Office?
Affirmative.
Yeah, Meteorological Office. She said that cold air is set to spread across the country overnight into Monday. Monday night and through Tuesday in Scotland and Northern Ireland, we have issued a weather warning. And you know what that sounds like?
Warning! Warning!
Yeah, this is not a drill. Possible hail and snow with up to 4 inches possible above 200 metres. And in centimetres, in case you're wondering. If you're hip and with it and down with the kids, then you will want that imperial measurement changed to centimetres. 4 inches is... well, you get 2.4 centilitres to the inch, so that's 2.4 times 4, which is like 2 times 4 is 6, and 4 times 4 is 12, so that's like 126 litres, which is about 46 gallons. 46 gallons of snow. Can you believe that?
No.
A warning was issued by the Met Office. They said that across northern and western Scotland there is a potential for disruption to power supplies from frequent lightning strikes. Strong winds are also expected, with the potential for temporary blizzard conditions and drifting of lying snow, particularly over higher ground. But nobody cares about that because no one lives there, except sheep. They said that what we've got coming up is so bad that we'll have to go back a few years to the last time that we experienced anything of this potency. This is looking like becoming a notable and lengthy spell of widespread cold and snowy weather. Ugh. You know, I wasn't going to talk about Donald Trump this evening, but Donny, you just make it so difficult, you giant orange puffball of fun, you. Did you see? Did you see those guys that tried to arrest Sadiq Khan? That was funny. A group of far-right Trump supporters tried to arrest Sadiq Khan while quoting the Magna Carta. They stormed into the Fabian Society they were having a conference in London, and this was moments after the mayor took to the stage, and they accused him of subverting the English Constitution. Or rather, subverting the English Constitution. They were from a group called White Pendragons, as in very, very white. The Very White Pendragons, and they were escorted out by the police. As the London mayor started to speak at the event, the protesters stood up and shouted that they were making a citizen's arrest.
What?
I have no idea. It was just too bizarre. As their chums waved anti-EU signs, because they come over here, they were waving anti-EU signs and American flags. And one of them group yelled, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are here today to make a peaceful, non-violent citizen's arrest of those being named." They are Sadiq Khan, Keir Starmer, Kate Green MP, and Andrew Arup. It's just like something out of Monty Python. They said, "We stand under common law jurisdiction," which is way too many syllables for me. They've lost me already. It says, "If you touch us, you will be done for common assault." I bet no one in history has ever touched any of those people. He says, "We're not leaving. We paid for a ticket." And then they just kept going on about, "You can't touch us. That's common assault, that is. We'll call them. The police have been called." One of the protesters was English Defence League member Dave Russell, a self-described talk show host. Hey, DJ! He live-streamed the protest to his Facebook account, racking up thousands of views. What would they have done if they'd actually been able to arrest them? I mean, what would have happened next? I'd love to know what they had in mind. But unfortunately, we'll never know. If you haven't seen it, then do yourself a favour and look it up on YouTube. When he resumed his speech, Sadiq Khan said, "It's a pleasure to be here, even though we were distracted by the actions of what some would call very, very stable geniuses."
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
You really do attract them, don't you, Donny?
Oh, shut up!
Yeah, and I looked up on the Mail Online website, which carried this story, the comments section, and the most furiously worst-rated comment was, "Some really classy supporters Trump has here." When I looked, 2,456 people had smashed their fingers down on the dislike button. Furious they were. It's almost like there's a whole section of society that you don't realise is there, but lift a rock or peer into a cave and there they are, arm outstretched, thinking they're the master race. Someone should get them a mirror. If they're the master race, I'm a banana. One of those straight bananas that the evil, unelected overlords of the EU and the deep state insist we eat. Trying to arrest Sadiq Khan. Even Donald Trump's like,
What the hell is going on?
"Oh no, I've made a mistake already." A mistake? An error? Can we go back and start this again?
No.
Mark says, "You read the Glasgow weather, but the bit where it said no rain might be correct, as it will be snowing." Well, it's going to be precipitation of one sort or another. Don't you worry about that. And it'll be falling mostly from the sky in a downwards direction. And I think you'll find that is
Correct.
Good evening, Natalia.
I am great, mate.
The only concern with Sadiq's tweet that most Londoners don't wish to see Trump is that our Prime Minister Theresa May, has invited him. So it would look strange if he continues tweeting like this, because the Prime Minister has invited him. So who is he to tell our Prime Minister that he can't come? You know, I mean, poor Theresa, she's trying her best.
Well, I don't think Sadiq Khan, the mayor who likes to say no, said he couldn't come. He was expressing an opinion. Would you prefer that all politicians were elected to a position of authority and then said nothing?
No, but he said most Londoners.
Yeah,
what gave him the
that's
right
true.
to speak most Londoners?
It's true, though. It's true. Most
it
Londoners.
true?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Unless
for some
London
reason,
is
yeah.
not is completely unlike the rest of the country. Donald Trump's unpopularity is about running at 70.
no.
Is running at.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
What do you mean? Yeah, I haven't said it yet.
No, I agree with you.
Well, I haven't said it yet. His unpopularity is running at 77% in this country. That's how unpopular he is.
Right. So, what's your opinion then? If our Prime Minister has invited him, what do you think should happen? you like to give opinions. What do you think?
Well, I'd love to see him come just to see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I think he should come and open the embassy because the embassy, is for $1.2 billion. I mean, he should come at least have a cup of tea there.
Yeah. Well, as soon as he's finished his pouty strop, he might rethink. Who knows?
Yeah. But
people in this country either dislike or very much dislike Donald Trump. There's no doubt it. We can't stand him. Apart from a few people who try to do citizen's arrest and are absolutely blooming furious about everything. Apart from those people. There seems to be a decent number of them. It's really bizarre. What do they do for a living? I looked up that group, by the way, that the White Pen Dragons. Go and look them up on the World Wide Web. They've got some videos. They've got some interesting videos accompanied by the noise of parrots off screen. It's absolutely surreal. South Norwood. Hey, Ray.
Hello, Nick.
Ray.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Ray.
Listen,
Are we on speakerphone?
Oh, yeah. I know Trump is very...
God.
Sorry about that. I know Trump is much in the news right now.
A little bit.
But the thing is that we've got something that came to me this week when I was paying 5p for a plastic bag wherever I go. And I think to myself, why did you all give out biodegradable bags? Why are you giving out plastic bags?
I got a better idea, Ray. Why don't you take a bag with you?
Well, I do, but sometimes you have more stuff, so you have to get a bag.
Right.
So 5p pays. But I just wonder, why are you giving me a plastic bag? You should be giving me a biodegradable bag.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I use a
I think
biodegradable bag in my my food waste.
Disgusting.
It's at the end of the week, it's all icky and slimy and blech. So you don't want to actually have to clean out the food waste bucket. You want to have like a plastic bag so that the man can take it away. But written right there on the top, it says no plastic bag right on the box. But aha, charade you are. I went and bought some biodegradable bags which are not made of plastic, but they look like plastic. But the man just won't take them. He can't read. Written right on the bag, it says, this is not a plastic bag, this is biodegradable. It is clean and pristine, and it will disappear in about a week. But they just won't take them. They empty it out and then leave the plastic bag like an elephant's used condom on the driveway. Awful.
But that's what I was trying to say. They're talking about plastic bags as though that's the good thing to use, and even the dustmen don't seem to know what a plastic bag and a biodegradable bag is, which just means that we need to have biodegradable bags and teach the people to use it, teach the people about it. They don't know about it.
I
they
agree.
just keep saying give 5p to give it to charity.
Yeah.
They should be putting that money into developing more and more better biodegradable bags.
Correctamundo.
Oh, that's all I wanted to say, really.
Okay, well, it sounds like you said it. Excellent work. Thanks a lot, Ray. 100% success rate there. Another satisfied customer. Pat says, did you hear about the false missile alarm in Hawaii? Somebody pushed the wrong button. I hope it wasn't your mate Donnie. Yeah, the poor Hawaiians got an alert in the morning which said, something of the order of, we are under missile attack. This is not a drill. It took the authorities 40 minutes to say, yeah, sorry about that. Meanwhile, chaos had ensued. I'm amazed that people didn't start shooting up the place. Stripping supermarkets of everything on their shelves. 40 minutes. Everybody in Hawaii got a message that said, we're under attack. Nothing to be alarmed about, but you're all going to die. Oh, and by the way, we're not kidding. And this was on the same day, by the way, that this information came out about our nuclear weapons, which are apparently anybody can set them off. a teenager with a laptop in his bedroom could set them off by accident. That's how unsecure they are. You know, nuclear weapons, no big deal. Here's Carnforth. Hey up, Annie.
Hiya, how
Annie.
you doing?
I'm all right.
Good, good. I was just ringing you about these ridiculous far-right lunatics that have tried to make a citizen's arrest of Sadiq Khan, and I was just thinking, well, we also have some fairly ridiculous politicians saying things about Sadiq Khan as well, you know, because Boris Johnson actually really blamed Trump's cancelling his visit on Sadiq Khan, and he actually called him
a puffed up popinjay.
Yeah. Wait.
If there is anybody in the history of British politics who is more puffed up popinjay-ish than Boris Johnson, I would like the name of that person.
Well, exactly, that's what I thought. Well, I actually didn't know what popinjay meant, so I got my partner to look it up.
Yeah.
Yes, and it means, according to his dictionary, it means conceited fop, which I thought was very Boris-ish,
totally.
Boris-ish, and also a coxcomb, which I've only ever heard of in Shakespeare. You know, it's so archaic. That's the only time I've ever heard it used.
I think, by the way, if you go into a barber shop and ask for a conceited fop, they'll give you something that looks like Boris Johnson's haircut.
Yeah, exactly, which is very Trump-like as well. I think they're both conceited fops. But a coxcomb as well, what was that? That was a vain fool. So I thought as well that was very appropriate.
Bingo, spot
for
on.
Boris.
Yes.
So, you know, I mean, I just can't believe the stuff that Boris comes out with sometimes. I think he's a bit like Trump. I think he's kind of a bit chippy somehow, because he didn't come from quite the same background as some of the people that
are you kidding? He's related to royalty. Do you know what the fullness of his entire name is? I'll have to look it up. I can't remember. It's like De Pfeffel is one of the names. Hang on a minute, caller. One moment, please. Checking for you. Boris Johnson.
I heard he was a scholarship boy at Eton.
No, he's rich as the Church of England is Boris Johnson.
Oh, is he? Well, maybe it's because he's
Alexander Boris de Pfeffel Johnson. I mean, I think he comes from Prussian royalty. It's just ridiculous how much money. Upper middle class English parents, educated at the European School of Brussels, Ashdown House School, and Eton College. Studied classics at Balliol. Oh boy, don't we know that he studied classics at Balliol? Shoves his private education down our throats at every opportunity.
He does, and I think that's why he uses this archaic language as well, because it makes him sound as if he's, you know, well educated. And all the rest of it. It's a bit like Trump in a way, because I think Trump's definitely got a chip on his shoulder about
everything.
You know, everything. Yes,
yeah.
But I mean, you know, when Trump says, "I know words, I know lots of words," and
Trump
all
has.
that,
Come off it. Trump has never said that.
I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words.
I think you were lying about that. Why are you putting words in his mouth?
I think that's why. I think that's kind of Boris has to constantly let us know
how smart he is,
bright he is,
while pretending, while effortfully affecting the air of somebody who isn't trying. It must take ages to acquire that stumble bum look that he puts on. You know, he actually messes his hair up before going on camera.
Yeah, it's a bit of a Wurzel Gummidge look, isn't it? And I just think he's just constantly sort of saying ridiculous things, so he has to kind of make up for that by trying to make out that he's so bright.
Well, he's been getting away with this stuff,
gaffes, doesn't he?
He's been getting away with it his whole life. That's the thing. He puts on this sort of cute teddy bear act, and he's been getting away with it his entire life. I cannot believe that Theresa May made him our chief diplomat. I mean, when it happened, I thought one of two things, and I've said this several times. Either this is a joke, and Mrs. M doesn't appear to have much of a sense of humour, so I discounted that one straight away. Or two, this is a punishment for Boris Johnson, because being the Foreign Secretary, you'll always be on the overnight flight to somewhere with a stack full of boxes of information that you must learn before greeting your host so as not to embarrass the nation.
Yeah, and I think it's keeping him out of her way as well, so he's not...
Always somewhere else, somewhere foreign.
So he's not causing her trouble here, although he's just usually causing her trouble elsewhere now. I don't know which is worse, really. But for her, probably causing trouble elsewhere is better than causing trouble, here. And, she's had such a great week, hasn't she, with that reshuffle.
Why does she still do it? Just walk away, Mrs. M. No one will think the worst of you for... you cannot possibly be enjoying this. Go and she needs to go and spend more time with her shoes.
She does, definitely. Because that reshuffle where she had two of her main ministers... basically that she wanted to move, just saying, no,
we're not going.
No, we're not. Jeremy Hunt's not going anywhere. Yeah. And the other one, Justine Greening, just flatly said, well, that's it, I'm going on the back benches, I'm definitely not doing the DWP, because that was really a demotion for her.
Yeah. Hey, and also, Mrs. M, how's that snap election working out for you, by the way?
Fabulous.
That's what I just think that it's a good job that Boris Johnson, considering our special relationship, is teetering on the brink, that Boris Johnson hasn't said anything to upset Donald Trump.
I think Donald Trump is clearly out of his mind.
Once again, I stand corrected.
He knows everything.
Now, I do want to discuss the gigantic matter of tighty whities, but maybe that'll be a bit later on. Lewisham, hello, Nigel.
Hi, Nick. Hi.
Nigel.
Just a bit about... Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I think I'm no fan of Donald Trump's, incidentally. I would like to see him come here just to see what the man is all about, or some of it, and
see what he's all about. What you can't tell from over there. Do you get the news where you are?
I do get the news, obviously, but obviously he's subject to the American press, of which they substantially support the Democrats.
Well, it depends which press you're looking at. He's also subject to our press. We get to go to America too,
Well, that's right, but I think our press might be influenced by the Americans, because it's easy just to jump on the bandwagon.
No, it's easy to just report the facts as they happen, Nigel. Are you saying that you're not going to say the phrase mainstream media, are you? Oh, God, I hope not.
Say again?
You're not about to say MSM, are you?
NSM? Go on.
Mainstream media.
Mainstream media, I don't think there's much doubt that the most powerful media in America, whether it be newspapers or television, generally support the Democrats.
I doubt that. Yeah, I do doubt that.
Well, there we go.
Well, which is the most powerful media? I'd say Fox News. Fox News, 100% behind Donald Trump.
Oh, there's one. All right. What's all the others? I would say
Fox News is the biggest networked TV, cable TV news channel in America. It crushes CNN.
Yeah, I would say if there's say 7 of them, at least 5 of them are Democrats. That's my opinion.
7 of what?
I don't know, but that's
you don't know, but it's your opinion. Yeah, there's newspapers. Some newspapers are not fans of Donald Trump, but nobody reads newspapers anymore. If you want to pick up the Washington Post or the New York Times, I don't know what about the LA Times. I don't know what their position is, but I doubt they'd be supportive. But how can you be supportive of a man like that and also be in possession of 2 brain cells? I totally get that they support him, because they want simple answers to complicated questions. Everything's going to be great and huge and tremendous. And they think, oh, yeah, great and huge and tremendous. Yeah, I like the sound of that. A little bit of white power thrown in. Yee-haw. But intelligent people, they'll look at Donald Trump and think, not really. Southend. Hello, Chris.
Oh, good evening, Nicholas. Hello there.
Hello there.
Well, this may surprise you, but obviously I'm here to talk about, Nigel Farage's bombshell that he dropped.
Oh, yeah.
It was a bombshell that he dropped.
It was,
there's no way to describe that. But the thing is, it's not surprising, even though I've been on this. I've been bringing your show up for ages and ages.
Oh God, I know, ages and ages and ages.
Yeah, saying how much I'd love to leave the EU, but honestly, if truth be told, if the referendum was held now, another one, I would actually vote to remain.
What?
True. I know. I never thought I'd be saying it myself.
Why? Why on earth would you say just to have it all stop?
Well, I think the biggest reason I would vote to remain now, yes, to have it all stopped, but I think the biggest reason is probably because most of the problems in our society are actually not down to the EU. They cannot be attributed to the EU, in the sense that, you know, biggest problems of it, for instance, or the things that most concern people: wages, jobs, and housing. And there are things that our government has the power to change, but chooses not to.
Well, to a certain extent, yeah, they do have the power to. I don't know. Well, it depends what you mean by change. They can affect it a bit. Yes, I think governments mostly are blown about by the forces of international economics, and they claim credit if things have gone well while they're in power, and if things go badly while they're in power, they say, "Oh, well, it's nothing to do with us. It's the previous lot who screwed it all up. We've just been trying to put it all right back together again."
Well, this is it. I mean, but the thing is, if you look at Germany, for instance, I mean, I know obviously their businesses are doing well, and I suppose you can't accredit the government fully for that, but nonetheless, Germany have had a pay rise of 5% for the past 10 years. They've also built 100,000 new homes.
Yeah, more than that. More than that per year. It's amazing how well they've done.
More than that. And that's what I'm saying. They're not in the EU. That's the thing. So,
wait,
I mean,
what?
It's like you can
What?
No, sorry, they are in the EU. Tom, I don't know why I said that. I've had a long
Late
day.
breaking news. Germany not in the EU first.
But what I'm saying is that the point I'm trying to make is they are an EU member state, yet they've managed to do lots of things to improve their citizens' lives.
Yeah, exactly.
What I'm saying is that, and I think the thing is, you know, this is what I'm saying, our government has more power than it kind of thinks it has. I mean, if you look at, for instance, you know, the Catalonia crisis, for instance. Now, the fact that the EU did intervene in Spain, how they ran their country, that shows that nations actually do have more sovereignty than people think they have. I know a lot of people might not agree with the way the Spanish police dealt with the crisis in Catalonia.
Not really.
But if the EU was that heavy-handed, it would have actually just raided Madrid and said, "Right, we're taking over now." but they didn't. So therefore, we must. So therefore, all these nations have probably got more sovereignty than we're led to believe.
We're led to believe by people who are trying to disseminate misinformation.
Liar!
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, definitely. But the thing is, well, Nick, right? Aren't you a little bit suspicious as to why Nigel Farage said this? Because if you look at what happened, right? He had a meeting with Michel Barnier, and then 2 or 3 days later, he's now coming out and saying, "Oh, I'm actually flirting with the idea of a second referendum." Now, there's 2 possible reasons why he's doing this. There might be more reasons, but I'm going to list 2 for now. One, he is calling Michel Barnier's bluff. Or secondly, Barnier has said to him, "If you guys leave, I'm gonna totally ruin your country," and in that sense, Farage has thought, "Oh gosh, if this goes really wrong," Nigel's thinking, "If this goes really wrong, I'm gonna be lynched on," and therefore he's having a second referendum. So if we do vote Remain, in effect, he's off the hook.
Right, you think that Michel Barnier made it absolutely abundantly clear that we were looking at disaster in the face, and that we eventually would be searching around for somebody to blame, and the people that aren't blaming Hillary Clinton would blame Nigel Farage?
Oh, absolutely, honestly. And in fact, there's a call on your show a while ago that said, if this all goes wrong, of course if it goes well, then he'll be held as a hero. But if this goes wrong, Farage will be the new Tony Blair. He'll be hated more than Tony Blair if this goes wrong. So I think Farage has then thought, you know what, Christ, what am I going to do? And he thinks, right, I know, I'm going to say that I'll back a second referendum, but not for the reasons that I'll make out on doing it to sort of cause mischief and stuff. Barnier has definitely said something to Farage that has made him suddenly check. Because why would he say that? It's like what Farage has done, right? It's like we're in a horse race, just just by a millisecond. You win the prize, and then you say, "Okay, I want it replayed again." If you win the prize, which Farage sees as win the prize, in other words, us leaving, you don't then think, let's call the whole thing again.
Well, yes, but you must remember that although I've got no idea whether one of the two reasons that you have stated is correct, there could be another. But
what's your theory, Nick?
Well, hang on a minute. I'll get into that. I'll have to get into this after the break, so I've got a break coming up. But you must remember that he has now gone back to his original position, because before the referendum in 2016, he said, if it is, and it's amazing how prescient he was to come out with these numbers. He said, if it's 48 to 52, this will be unfinished business. That's what he said.
Right. Yeah, he did.
But he was expecting to lose by those numbers. But because he won by those numbers, then suddenly it was finished business, and no further discussion would be entered into until just the other day, when this bizarre transformation took place right before our very eyes.
Oh, it's really odd. I'm racking my brains why he said this, because I mean, if you had told me 6 months ago Nigel Farage would have said he'd like a second referendum, I would have thought you're mad. But he's come out and said this, and you do sort of think, well, why has he said this?
Yeah.
And it's strange how he's met Michel Barnier and suddenly changed his mind. I mean, I don't perhaps in the way Farage likes referendums, perhaps. And I'll tell you what as well, what's even more interesting is, I heard a rumour about this, and again, perhaps Farage ain't here to defend this, but I heard a rumour that after we voted to leave, he was caught queuing up at the German embassy for a German passport. Now, that might be for his wife.
I seriously doubt that.
No, that's why. Look it up. It's an Independent. Look it up. He was spotted outside the German embassy.
Well, it could have been any number of reasons. It could have been stocking up on bratwurst or taking a lederhosen delivery. It could have been anything at all. These are about things that have been mentioned on this show so far. This says, why are we breaking the news that we get winter weather in winter? Baffled in London. London with an umlaut over the O. Oddly. Edward says, the economy is pitiful and we need more EU workers. Anyway, at least we'll have bendy bananas. What a relief. That's why they voted leave after all. Does that make sense?
No.
Simon says, I'm predicting a massive baby boom in Hawaii in 9 months' time. Exactly. All Hawaiians will have been hiding under the duvet, expecting the end to come at any moment. Having a hot Hawaiian interface with each other.
Disgusting.
This says, Alexander Boris de Pfeffel Johnson. One of us, eh? Julian says, the press release from the White Pen Dragons, if you say that 78% of people in the UK dislike President Trump, there are still 83% who love and respect him. And I think you'll find that those maths are correct. Shuvik says, I'm pleased that Donald Trump will not be coming to open the new US embassy. We should talk about saving jobs at Carillion and not give Trump more attention than he really deserves. More attention than he really deserves? Have you heard what job he does?
You are going to love President Trump.
He deserves all the attention he gets. No doubt about it. By the way, that Carillion story is pretty bad. So I just mentioned that briefly in passing. You know, the Mail did a story on Carillion in September. They said the troubled engineer Carillion introduced tougher rules that protect bonuses paid to bosses just months before it was embroiled in an accounting crisis that wiped £600 million off its shares. The firm changed the wording of its pay policy to make it harder for investors to claw back bonuses paid to executives in the event it ran into financial difficulty. Carillion was under pressure from investors to recoup some of the millions of pounds in bonuses paid to former Chief Executive Richard Howson and ex-Finance Chief Richard Adam when they were in charge. A probe by the Mail found that previously bosses could have been forced to hand back their annual bonus and share awards in circumstances of corporate failure. But in the group's 2016 annual report, this wording was tightened. It says deferred bonuses may be reduced in circumstances of corporate failure, but it goes on to say that the so-called clawback provisions can be applied in only two circumstances: if the results have been misstated, or if the participant is guilty of gross misconduct. Essentially, this means that executives would have to be guilty of fraudulent behaviour rather than just the more general failure of the firm. Well, ain't that just peachy? Carillion, which builds and maintains schools and hospitals and barracks and roads and railways, has seen more than 70% wiped off its value as of the 12th of September last year. And that was between July the 10th and September the 12th. Wow. Wow. 70%. Howson, 49, Richard Howson, 49, stepped down from his role as chief executive on the day of the disastrous trading update. He'd been in the post since 2009. Wow, 8 years. 8 years as chief executive. He stayed with the company as chief operating officer, by the way. He made £1.9 million in cash and share bonuses during his tenure, only not getting an award in 2012, according to the Mail calculations. The previous year, he pocketed £245,000 bonus in cash and shares, as well as £346,000 as a long-term incentive award. Yeah, well, that's probably a company that doesn't have a long-term. Ex-finance chief Richard Adam has had up to £2.6 million in extra cash and shares since starting in 2006, according to the Mail calculations. Last year, he was handed a bonus of £140,000 and long-term incentive awards of £278,000. I mean, you have to presume that they're worth it because, they don't give that sort of remuneration to dummies. Can you imagine how badly that company would have been doing if it hadn't been run by these geniuses? Still, it's only money, innit? It's our money, no doubt. We'll be bailing them out. And I'm sure they'll be very grateful.
Thank you.
Let's have a call in Blackheath. This poor person's been waiting for a dog's age. Oh, Monica.
Oh, hi. Sorry. Didn't know you finished.
Monica.
Right, yeah. Okay, so I'll talk about Donald Trump quickly.
Yeah.
I'm not very political. I don't really understand politics, to be fair. I don't really understand it. But what I do, the biggest bit I don't understand is Donald Trump. How can he go around calling other countries S-hole countries, and I would have thought that some of the people in the room might be related to some of those people from S-hole countries in some way, shape or form, and he thinks that he could get away with just sitting down there calling those countries that, and no one's going to even bat an eyelid.
Yeah.
Right?
That's because his entire life he's been able to say and do whatever he wants, and no one has batted an eyelid because everyone in his orbit has been dependent on him for their income.
But it's nuts. It's like with the rally thing, yeah? You know, you're like, well, 50-50, and then somebody got run over and killed. It's just absolutely nuts. Could you imagine if that was Theresa May, and she was sitting in the House of Parliament saying those things, and doing, she'd be out on her ear.
I've said this frequently. Can you imagine anything that Donald Trump says coming out of any other politician's mouth on earth? Like anybody.
What is going on? Why is he out? I mean, what does he have to say or do for it to just get out of hand? I mean, I don't really understand. It's just getting... I know that, like, if it was me or you who said it, it wouldn't be a biggie, right? But for him, it's just mental.
He is the supposedly the most powerful man on earth, and he just keeps coming out with alarming things.
I'll bring us into war.
I mean,
being one of them.
Obama. Can you imagine if it was Obama?
No, it would never have happened. No, it would never have happened.
And he said, oh, why do we keep letting all the Norwegians in, and we should just let all the Nigerians and Haitians in? It'd be out.
Yeah, I think it's the other way around. I think Donny wants to get all hugger-mugger with as many Norwegians as he possibly can squeeze. It's the Haitians that he wants divorced from. Get Steely Dan on the phone and they'll be able to sing us that song.
Seriously, I just don't understand. I mean, it's like what I was listening to you before, like when it's all kicked off, like when he first, got into it, and he was like, he's the gift that keeps on giving, and he really is. I mean, I thought he would have calmed down, but it's actually it just gets worse and worse. This is January. This is January now. What is he going to do between now and December?
You know, people thought that he might calm down, he might stop tweeting and become more presidential.
I can be more presidential than anybody.
But he actually got worse after becoming the president of the United States of America. And you know what? People who are 71 years old don't change. Old men don't change, they just get worse.
He's like Megamind, isn't he? He's like kind of like crazy person. He just thinks he's ruling the world or something. He's just crazy. I just don't understand.
Well, I don't know.
Anyway.
I don't know who Megamind is, but that's
Right,
probably the first time
Pinky and Perky.
Right, that's probably the first time that the phrase Megamind and Donald Trump has been used in the same sentence. Yeah, it's a first, Monica. Congratulations. Well, that was an excellent question, by the way. Monica wants to know...
What the hell is going on?
It's a good question. Nobody has any idea. You know, at the beginning of... or at the end of last year, there was a missive sent out from the White House. I don't know, one of his ghoulish hangers-on. And what a crowd he has around him, by the way. They said, you ain't... Basically, they said, you remember that Bachman Turner song, You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet?
Rock and roll!
Yeah, well, that's what you're going to get this year. We're going to go, and the phrase that they used was, full Trump. That's what they said. They said, previously, he was actually restraining himself.
Oh, shut up!
Yeah. We previously saw nice Donnie.
Like to punch him in the face.
Yeah, that was him being nice. This year, he's going to become not very nice at all.
Donald Trump is not a nice person.
Yeah. So get prepared for full Trump, because that's what we're about to get this year. But she's probably right. I mean, that nice lady didn't say it in quite the politically correct way that you're supposed to, but I think he has completely lost his mind.
Bing, 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 bong, bing, 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 bong, bing, 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 bong, bong, bing, 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 bang, bang, boom, bing. That's the end of that. It's the only thing he can say.
So I must discuss tighty whities with you. It's an unpleasant conversation that we're going to have, and it will leave you with a mental image that you may never be able to scrub from your mind. But it's an important discussion, and we're going to have it. I also need to talk to you about Nigel Farage's apparent Volt Fass. And there's so much other stuff to pack in. It will be impossible to do in a 2-hour show, but I'll try and squeeze in as much. If Trump and the rest of the inept governments of this world don't soon get a grip, I think this Hawaii warning today will be a rehearsal of future events. Yeah. The Hawaiians must have been freaking out because they're already very concerned about Lil Fat Kim and Donnie going at it.
I'll bring us into war.
And so they must have thought, well, I mean, if you got a text message from the government saying, don't be alarmed, but you're about to die.
Warning, warning.
There are incoming missiles and this is not a drill. What would you do? Theresa May said that this is a completely different text message. This is not me saying that Theresa May said anything. This is a message that says, Theresa May said that in 25 years, everything made in plastic will be gone. What about the mobiles? Alarmed emoji. People don't send emojis. That's the first time I've ever seen an emoji sent through. How did you manage to do that, my glamorous assistant?
The old copy and paste. It was very, very difficult.
Oh, you'll have to show me how to do that. Copy and paste, you say? That sounds technical. Theresa May said that everything made in plastic is going to be gone in 25 years. What are you talking about, Theresa? Everything is made in plastic. There's nothing in where I'm sitting right now that is not made of plastic, apart from the Hessian wall covering. Oh, it is beautiful. You should see it. Nothing else in here is made of any other material but plastic. Oh, there's a metal plate around the light switch. That's it. Oh, the lights have a metal plate around them. The actual bulbs. Some of them do, anyway. Some of them are plastic. Everything else is plastic. What are you talking about, Mrs. M? Christine says, Donald Trump is the elected president of the United States of America. How do you know that?
You are going to love President Trump.
Oh, yeah. She says, our negative attitude towards that office will upset Americans, even those who did not vote for him. It could damage future trade after Brexit and even our future tour industry. Our what?
We want to lead the world in preventing tourism.
I think Mrs M needs a lie down. Anyway, where was I? It could damage future trade after Brexit and even our future tour industry. How would we feel if, in hostile retaliation, the US people banned or set up anti-demos against any of our visiting MPs, our royals, especially our Queen? It's up to the USA to decide their leader. We in UK should just respect the office. Well, I'll tell you what, Christine, I'll respect the office when he does. How does that sound? Patrick says, if the threat of a second referendum nightmare pans... What? If the threat of a second referendum nightmare pans out the way UKIP fear it might, they'll Will Farage back to the front line like a wobbly old creaking catapult. Who knows, the late 1970s XTC chart hit, Making Plans for Nigel, may go down in history as a weird prophecy, as opposed to a catchy tune.
Rock and roll!
And finally, for the moment, Graham says, as a Brexiteer, I'm disgusted with Nigel as I am with Jeremy for not having the guts to fight wholeheartedly for Brexit after years for calling for it. I thought that's what he was doing, Uncle Nige. So, here is the news then. We can't avoid talking about this any longer. Nigel Farage has said the UK may need to hold a second Brexit referendum.
What?
Which is nonsense. Nigel Farage would never say that.
We should have a second referendum.
Once again, I stand corrected, mouth agape in disbelief. Uncle Nigel said a vote would see people back Britain's withdrawal from the European Union in very much bigger numbers, and that would settle the issue for a generation. Hey, I thought the issue had been settled for a generation. And I very much doubt that they would back it in very much bigger numbers. I think it would be overturned. And it would be overturned in a landslide. I predict, you want me to put a number on it? 60-40 to stay in. The young will mobilise. The don't-knows will reach an opinion. And some of the oldsters that voted last time might not be with us anymore, and the vote will go the other way, I betcha. And your life's work will be undone, Uncle Nige, because of your own intervention. And then what would Mr. Farage say?
We've got a few idiots in our party.
You know, our own Nigel Farage said a rerun of the June 23rd, 2016 referendum may be the only way to stop Remainers whinging and moaning. You know, not that I ever complain.
Stop whining.
Whinging and moaning, that's what he said about us Remainers, about the result, which Leave won by 52% to 48%. And they won it, by the way, by promising a lot of things that they knew they couldn't deliver, by lying through their teeth about what being in the EU means, and by using the power of the right-wing press, whose offshore tax-avoiding owners were frightened about the EU cracking down on their tax dodging. And by utilising a lot of iffy Russian money. Not that I'm complaining about it, but it was totally unfair. And when you think about it, with all of that, it's quite incredible that the vote was so close. Theresa May has said on this issue that a second vote would undermine the public's... what was her phrase? Undermine the public's trust in democracy. Trust in democracy? What trust? To get us to trust it, it should actually work for the people, the many. But as we know, the only people to have benefited from all the extra wealth created since the 1970s is the top 10% richest people in the land. And most of it went to the top 1%. What's the point in trusting a system that doesn't seem to make any difference to most people? Whoever wins the democratic vote, trust in democracy. Theresa May also said that a second referendum would amount to betraying the British people. But not really. Not for the reasons that I've said. The lies, the fake promises, the Russian interference, the real reason that the media lined up against the EU for their own interests. It would be betraying the British people to allow such a sham campaign on such an unknown quantity that was won by a hair's breadth to stand. And you might have seen him say it. Uncle Nige said, my mind's actually made up on, or is actually changing on all this. Why? For someone who's had his heels dug in for so long, why? Why now? That's just utterly, totally and completely bizarre. It's mythifying. You'll be able to discuss it with him 5 days a week on LBC. He said, my mind's changing all this. What's for certain is that the Cleggs, the Blairs and the Adonises will never ever give up. They'll go on whinging and whining and moaning all the way through this process. He said, so maybe, just maybe, I'm reaching the point of thinking that we should have a second referendum on EU membership, unless you want to have a multiple choice referendum, which would confuse people. Well, you know, exactly. More than one choice confuses people of little brain. People like me, who are the majority. So maybe we shouldn't have been asked the question in the first place. And how bizarre that he's blaming this and ascribing his change of mind on this to 3 politicians with no power. Blair, Clegg and Adonis. They're not in government. They're not in the cabinet. They aren't even MPs. What difference does it make if they pen a column for The Guardian? Who's going to read it? Why is he so concerned about them? Every time one of them hoves into view, the public, as with one voice, go, no! Especially Tony Blair. Why is he concerned what he says? Who cares? It's Blair, Clegg and Adonis's fault. They're just tiny voices which may be carried on the wind, and you hear them every now and again, and they're perfectly easy to ignore. That is totally curious. It's bizarre. If I didn't know that Nigel Farage had actually said this, I would think that it sounds a bit like flailing around for an excuse to get out of this. That the person who said it is concerned that the result of Brexit might be blamed on him. I might think that if I didn't know that it was Nigel Farage that had said it. Downing Street immediately rejected the idea of holding another vote because they were frightened of what Brenda from Bristol might say. The Prime Minister's official spokesperson said, we will not be having a second referendum, so pencil it in your diary, we will shortly be having a second referendum. And there's a fellow called Lord Mark Malloch Brown, the chairman of the anti-Brexit organisation Best for Britain. He said, with these comments, Nigel Farage is disowning the chaos that trying to leave the EU has wrought on this country. Him and his Brexiteer allies have zero idea of what will come next. And, you know, I looked up on the Super Soaraway Daily Telegraph. They had an online poll. And they asked, should there be a second EU referendum? And the last time I looked, 65% said yes. They said yes, there should be a second referendum. 65%. Which sounds like a winning margin to me. So we'll just add it to this this cacophony of bizarre that is just assailing us from all sides. It's like a bizarre cacophony in stereo. Groovy. No, it's in surround sound. Yeah. Zach says you were talking about live music venues and pubs last night, and I wanted to tell you that my partner and I reside. Oh, get you. Not live, reside. In a listed pub in Portsmouth, if you please, called the Air Balloon. And my bed is where the music stage used to sit. It was a proper old spit and sawdust Tudor-style pub. Presumably it's not a pub anymore. You're not just sort of shacking up in the salon. That would be an excellent idea. I think pubs make great abodes. Because the rooms are so big and the ceilings are so high. Marvellous. And that function room upstairs would make a brilliant, anything. It would make a pretty fantastic toilet, don't you think? It'd be the world's biggest lavvy. But I think a bedroom or a living room, something like that. Yeah, I've done up part of a church before, and I've always wanted to do up a pub and live in it. All I need is the will. I've got that. And a vast amount of money. So please send whatever cash you have to the following address. John says, perhaps Nigel Farage enjoys the thrill of the chase. Yeah, that's right. He's like what? An adrenaline junkie. I'm on about 3 or 4 referendums a year now, man. But I can handle it. I'm just up to my eyeballs in voting slips, that's all. Do you remember that old heroin? What's wrong with me? Heroin advert. That's what I'm quoting. Is it just me that remembers that? I can handle it. Just got a bit of a cold at the moment, that's all. And there was that poster of that wastrel shivering in an alleyway, because that's what the government wants you to believe, that, you know, if you dabble in any illicit substances, you'll be injecting heroin in your eyeballs in about 10 seconds flat. Which is why the kids don't pay the blindest bit of attention to anything the government says on that score, because they know it's not true. And the government released this poster to warn the kids off, doing things that they shouldn't ought to. And the kids apparently thought that looked so glamorous that they wanted the poster and they put it on their walls. The law of unintended consequences. I think it'd be better if the government just did nothing. Pauline in Hawaii says, everyone has gone from running around panicking and not knowing what to do or where to go to posting on Facebook how much they really love everyone. Ugh. Well, there's nothing like your imminent demise to make you appreciative of what you got. Yeah, I think if we all knew that we were all about to expire, I think people might just start being nice to each other. You know, just moments before the end. And Gary says, Farage realises that once Britain is out of the EU, we will be doomed for the best part of 20 years. He's hoping for another referendum, which will be won by Remainers, to take the pressure off him. Well, it does seem a bit weird that after all that time, then suddenly he wants another referendum. Although, as I mentioned before, it does revert him back to his original position, which was, if it was 52 to 48, then it would be unfinished business, implying that we would have to have another referendum to, decide it finally and for good. I think that Remain would walk it. I really do. Wendy says 65% Leave would walk it. Bring it on, says Wendy. In other words, come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. And Peter says, can we have a referendum on whether we should have a second referendum? that would settle it. Other news about Uncle Nige, which has come out of the EU, by the way, is very, very upsetting. Particularly as we know how very hard up he is. Former UKIP leader Nigel Farage is having half of his MEP's salary docked following a European Parliament investigation into the alleged misspending of EU funds. Isn't that awful? They'll accuse him of not showing up for important votes next. Votes that were important to the future health, wealth and prosperity of this nation that he feels so patriotic about. What was his voting record again? Oh yes, that's right. The worst voting record of any member of the European Parliament between 2014 and 2016, the last time I looked, with one exception. A man paralysed from the waist down who had been hospitalised for much of that time. But apart from him, Nigel Farage was the worst. During that period, of course, he did take his full salary and completed all his expenses forms and will take the entirety of his pension paid for by us. He's made a vast amount of money from an organisation he's done nothing for. Imagine what he could have made if he'd actually done any work in there on behalf of the country he claims to care so much about. You know, a couple of years ago he made a big show of sailing down the Thames to highlight the plight of the UK's fishing industry. Do you remember that? His concern would have been more believable if he'd actually, turned up for meetings of the EU Fisheries Committee. They had 42 meetings over the 3 years, and he could make it to only one of them to argue the case for Britain's fishermen. The rest of the time he was presumably writing witty camera-hogging speeches about the rest of the Euro MPs not doing anything for their money. And now Nigel Farage and seven other UKIP MEPs are accused of spending money meant to fund their offices on UKIP party matters, leading the Parliament's financial watchdog to launch an investigation.
Oh
The Guardian reports that Uncle Nigel will now pay back £35,000 through having his salary withheld after auditors concluded that he had indeed misspent the funds. The allegations centred around claims that EU-funded parliamentary assistants were actually working for the National Party and doing work unrelated to the duties of MEPs and related to the work of the party misfits that he used to head before a succession of jokers took the reins.
We've got a few idiots in our party.
Because under EU rules, full-time assistants to MEPs aren't allowed to do paid work for national parties, like UKIP. And following this revelation, of course, Nigel Farage told the Mail website that the EU was just being vindictive and he rejected the parliamentary authorities' claims. But what work did he actually do for the EU while he was there? And still being paid handsomely by them. Can you imagine him getting away with that sort of performance in the real world? Not showing up for meetings, refusing to take part, not acting in the best interest of the people who pay his vast remuneration, us. And to work so hard to bring down an organisation and then whine that they are being beastly to him. It's just so weird. How would you put it, Nigel?
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Last month, he said that he was skint, despite being entitled to a £90,000 a year MEP salary, living in a £4 million townhouse in Chelsea, the poshest part of London, with another house in Kent, in commuter belt land. And he's also going to be entitled to claim an EU pension worth £73,000 a year when he gets tired of doing nothing for a living. Pretty nice going for someone who's skint. He famously said there's no money in politics. And if that's what having no money means, I'd love to have no money. I can only dream of having that much no money. I do need to talk to you about tighty whities. I'm putting it off a bit because it's a little bit unpleasant, and we'll probably all need a shower after I've discussed it with you. Look at that switchboard. Is anybody remotely interested in anything I'm saying?
No.
I mean, come on. The stuff I've been throwing at you, and what's coming back is just amounts to nothing. I am stunned. Sam says, I think Barnier said to Farage, no more pension and free soup for you. Free soup. If the UK leaves. That probably made him think maybe not so fast. Something's happened in there. We've got no idea what it is. But fortunately, he's on this radio station 5 days a week. And we'll be able to discuss it with him and winkle out the reason. Because it can't possibly have anything to do with Tony Blair and Lord Adonis. And it's certainly got nothing to do with Nick Clegg. It's pinning it on them. Like anybody cares what they think. When was the last time that anybody gave two hoots what Nick Clegg thought? Or Tony Blair? And you couldn't pick a Lord Adonis out of a lineup, could you? So to blame those three, who have absolutely zero power, like none whatsoever, that it's their fault that he's had this change of heart, just seems bizarre. But it was early in the morning, so maybe he hadn't had his breakfast beer. This says, or maybe it's all part of the same message. It says, the reason people do not care about voting is because nothing ever seems to change. It's always the bloomin' same.
Affirmative.
And this says, it may all be the same message, I'm not sure. If it is, then it's just jumping around the topics. That's okay. It says, Farage just likes to keep himself in the limelight and is using reverse psychology, knowing that the PM will do the opposite. Reverse psychology. See, I only studied psychology for 4 years, so I didn't. Maybe they did that in the 5th year, or maybe I was asleep. Maybe I just missed that course entirely. I did miss an entire course in my first year because I couldn't get there in time. It started at 10 o'clock in the morning on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I was on campus, about 5 minutes walk from the lecture theatre. And I just flat out could not get up for 10 o'clock in the morning. So I missed the entire course. And I still passed. That's how easy psychology is. Any fool could do it.
Hello, good evening, Nick.
Billy.
Good to talk to you again. I hope you're doing well. I was just saying a minute ago, I really was sort of, resonating with what you were saying about Nigel Farage, because I think I read somewhere that he actually he's the one politician in the EU Parliament who attends the least amount of meetings. I think he's at the top of that record.
Well, you could say at the top. He's at the bottom of the list. There is no active MEP that has a worse voting record than our own Nigel Farage.
Yeah, it's quite unbelievable. And I was, thinking a minute ago, when you think about it, I just to let you know, I actually voted to leave the EU, but when you think about it, Nigel Farage is sort of, wagging the finger at the EU saying, this country is wasting so much money on them, and yet he's wasting our money by not turning up to Parliament.
I just can't believe it, actually, that you get voted to a position where you can affect the outcomes for the better for this country, and then you just don't do anything about it. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, it's completely contradictory. But then that's Nigel Farage for you, isn't it? I mean, he sort of contradicts you all over, really.
Yeah, he's complex.
Yeah, you can't help it, bless him. I mean, I listen to him sometimes on LBC, and the only reason why I listen to him is I find his absurdity so fascinating.
He is a fascinating individual. There's absolutely no doubt it.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, his best buddies with Donald Trump, isn't he?
Well, I don't know. Does Donnie actually take his calls anymore? I kind of doubt it. I mean, the amount of people that Donnie has recently thrown under the bus is so numerous that you would think that somebody who is in like a wide orbit would have got chucked away. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've got no idea, but I doubt it.
I think it's bizarre, how Nigel's sort of Uncle Nigel, you called him earlier. That really made me laugh. Good old Uncle Nigel, when he was when he was at that meeting, I think was it last Monday with Michel Barnier.
Yeah.
And it did make me wonder, maybe he's so sort of, he's having withdrawal symptoms from all this attention he's had, and now he's resorted to being a Remainer.
Well, that certainly would bring him back into the spotlight if he completely switched causes. Yeah, now he's going to campaign to Remain. Yeah, that'd be a turn up for the books, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. I'm just waiting for him to join the Labour Party now.
Almost spat out my coffee. It's all, he thinks we Brexiteers have become complacent. It's a call to arms, not to UKIP, but to all and sundry. Not just to UKIP.
The arguments that UKIP stands for aren't valid.
Not just to them. Frank says, let's start a crowdfunding page for Nigel. I hereby pledge one penny. A crowdfunding page because he's so broke. Yeah. I mean, what an extraordinary thing to say. A man exiting a £4 million house in Chelsea with another one in Kent on, what is it, £80,000, 90 grand a year with a guaranteed £70,000 pension and a six-figure income from his other media interests. Says he's broke. I don't think he's in touch with the people. That's just a guess on my part. Let's have Reading. Hello, Matt.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. When I heard about the U-turn on the referendum business, and I've been thinking about the consequences of a second referendum for a long time, because I'm a staunch Remainer. I think we should never have gone down this road. But I then sort of thought, I keep having this image in my head of this kind of cool blimey gav now going back to the table with their hat in, cap in hand, ringing their cap and, looking down on the ground all sheepish, because I can't see the EU allowing us to come back from this without some major changes to the relationship. If we were to have a second referendum and it went in favour of Remain, I think it would be. I think we're going to be the whipping boy of Europe anyway.
Oh, they're going to bend us over a table and we'll be. Thank you, sir. May we have another?
They've got us exactly where they want us. There'll be concessions left, right, and centre, and I think it needs to be stated. If we do have a second referendum, it is not going to be for let's cancel the whole thing and just go back to how things were. Because I just can't see Europe doing that for us. I really can't.
I bet they do. I bet they will. Because we've just given them a giant headache, essentially. They're deeply annoyed with... I mean, they were kind of annoyed with us beforehand because we were just such stick in the mud.
We would moan and groan.
Moaning and whining and complaining.
Stop whining.
Exactly. We want some of our money back and we won't do this and we won't do that and we refuse to go along with the tax... to close tax loopholes. And all of that stuff that we're just constantly moaning. So they were irritated with us to begin with, but they put up with us because we got a lot of money. Well, actually, we don't have a lot of money, but we spend a lot of money. We keep racking up the debts, spending a lot of money. But we don't actually have any money. We just keep spending it. But now we've given them just such a massive headache, all this extra work, millions of hours of man and woman power.
Oh, exactly, and they're going to reward us for that, are they? I don't think they will. I think we'll be made to do the walk of shame. I think we could get our place back at the table, maybe, but I just can't see us being taken as seriously. Despite the money, I mean, we've been put firmly in our place over this, and I'm not blaming them. Like I said, I voted to Remain, but if I was on the other side of this, if I was in Brussels, I would be seeking to punish the United Kingdom for leaving, and I would be seeking to punish us for punish the UK for putting us through all of this.
Precisely. And what's amazing is that people in the British press are saying, how dare these Europeans not acquiesce to our every demand instantly? Who the hell do they think they are?
Utterly, utter Burke. They are utter Burke.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump is the biggest Burke of all. And, I'm sorry, but, he probably ought not to ever come to this country. I just don't think he's going to have a good time here at all. And,
well, if the Queen doesn't wheel out the golden carriage, he probably won't. Because that's what he's got his mindset on. Yeah.
If he doesn't get adulation, then he, we're a nut that he hasn't cracked. I mean, it's a pretty poor lookout for Donald Trump if the best his supporters in this country can do is arrest.
If that's the best that he's got, then
seriously, it's all very. I mean, just the whole thing. I'd love it if we could, if I could be convinced that a second referendum that cancelled Brexit and we went back in and we had exactly the same position and the same high esteem. Well, say high esteem, but the same level of esteem that we had before, at the very least, was a sure thing. Then I'd be all for it. But I am actually. I think we cut off our nose to spite our face when we had that referendum, and I can't see them ever, giving us the same sort of levels of respect or anything like that ever again.
What seems really, apart from the right-wing press writing furious articles about how they're not giving us everything that we want, what seems really truly bizarre is that they're complaining that the French and the Dutch and the Germans and so on are trying to take some of our banking business away from us.
Good on them. I wouldn't blame.
Yeah, of course they are.
Of
course they are. It's like saying, well, that you just walk. There's a big pile of money lying in the street. How outrageous is it that you actually picked some of it up?
I mean, I've never thought that I'd ever say it, but living in a country that's effectively put ourselves in our place. I mean, we did that to ourselves. Really, and whatever the EU gets out of this is we're always going to come out worse. There's no doubt in my mind about that. It's not about Project Fear or campaign of fear or anything like that. It's just the reality of it. That we were never going to come out of this Brexit with a deal that basically gave us all the privileges of being part, all the privileges and things that we enjoyed before, without paying the bill. I mean, I just don't know how anybody in their right mind could think that could ever be a reality.
Well, I don't think I don't think there's much thinking going on. I don't think there was ever much thinking going on from most of the people that have been talking about it at length. That thought is in short supply. I'm going to have to say, maybe we'll change our minds on Brexit, and the EU will turn around and say, well, actually, we don't want you anymore, so there. And then we'll say, right, that's it, we're leaving. Enfield, hello, Jackie.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
I am great, mate. How are you?
I'm okay. I got a bit of a cold, but
a bit of a cold.
Yeah,
really?
Stop whining.
Nigel Farage. I think when he went on Monday, I don't know what he was told. Maybe he was told that his salary is going to be stopped completely or something if he doesn't change the country's mind. But it's very weird how I think that he probably realized how bad things would be when we come out, and he's beginning to sort of try and come out of it now. And like a few people have said, all the responsibility really will be on him if things go pear-shaped, if we come out and everything goes wrong. So he's probably hoping that we'll remain, so that he's, out of the, so he's not blamed.
What's beautiful about this is that because he's working here, we'll be able to have it from the horse's mouth. You'll be able to call him up on one of his shows and ask him directly what's he thinking of, and he'll be able to tell you. You'll be able to hear it right here on LBC 5 days a week, baby.
Yeah, but you know what I've realised when on his programme, the couple of times that I've listened to him, because I don't really listen to his programme, if someone is with him, they agree with him, he'll talk with them for ages. If they don't like what he's doing, he cuts them off. He sort of cuts it short. Cuts them off, but he likes to be praised. He likes to be in the limelight, and I think he's losing that as well. So he's got to probably do something to, sort of get back in on top.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about any of that. I mean, as for wanting to chat with people who agree with you, that's just human nature, Jackie. Everybody likes to be agreed with, and you have more to say with somebody who is with you than with someone who just wants to butt heads with you. So that's just understandable. But as for the us not doing very well, the thing about it is we won't really notice. I mean, even if people lose their jobs and the prices go up in the shops and so on, we won't have another country, another identical Britain to compare ourselves with and say, well, you know what, that Britain there, they didn't leave, and look how well they're doing compared to us in the doldrums here, having exited the EU. So because we won't have anything really to compare it with, and because the change won't be very dramatic, it will be slow and incremental, then I'm not sure that people will actually blame Nigel Farage for whatever happens, assuming that it's bad, because it will happen so much later than the day after which we formally leave.
Maybe.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Somebody's going to have to ring him up and ask him.
The other thing that really annoys me is that we are called, the people that voted to remain are called Remoaners.
Yeah.
But I find that the people that want the Brexit, they're the ones that are moaning about the people that are Remainers.
Yes.
We're sort of quiet in the background. Okay, what can we do?
Yeah.
But there, this thing with the referendum, a second referendum. Oh my God! Some people this morning were going crazy. No, we want out. We don't want to be in it at all. no deal, no nothing. We
Yeah.
just want to come out.
That makes absolutely no sense. I mean, I've heard that call over and over and over again, and there's no point at which any of it makes any sense. We
No.
just want out. We've got nothing to do with them no more. We don't want no Europe. They can blooming well bog off back to France. It just makes no sense at all. It's the biggest trading bloc on Earth, and it's so near we can see it from here, and yet we've got our trade chief trade whatever the hell, the secretary, who's going off to blooming New Zealand to try and knock up some trade deals. You'd have to leave the planet to get further away.
That's right, going to the other ends of the earth. And with America, we're sort of begging them, please, we've got to like you, Trump, because, we need you.
Yeah, which is the worst possible way to do business with Donald Trump, because he said it over and over again, and everything about him says this really loud and clear. The only way that he will think it's a good deal is if he wins and everybody else loses. That's the key part. If everybody else does not lose, then it was a bad deal, really bad, terrible deal, awful.
Yes.
I hope your cold gets better, Jackie. What you doing? What you doing for it?
Well, I've made some soup. I've had my soup. And
what kind of soup did you have? Ooh,
chicken soup.
Chicken soup.
Greek style.
What does that mean?
Well, I don't know how the English make their soup, but it's Greek. Greek style is with you make it with egg and lemon. You cook the chicken. You put rice. Oh, it's delicious. And you
egg soup.
Yeah. You beat the eggs, add lemon to it, then add the soup to it, put it all back in, and it's delicious. You put rice in it. Rice in the once you're taking your chicken out, and you put lots of lemon and salt on the chicken. And do you know how tasty it is when it's hot? Yeah, it's really, it really does help when, you're feeling unwell.
Yeah.
So, I've done that, and I've just drinking lots of fluids, really.
Right.
And resting and listening to Nick Abbott.
Oh, well, there you go. All right, well, feel better, Jackie.
Thanks.
There must be, I don't know, I bet my glamorous assistant spends more time in the building than I do. Approximately how many people, as a percentage of the staff, have got sniffles and sneezes and oozings and,
Oh, approximately 101%.
101%, which is almost everybody, mathematically speaking. And I think you'll find that that's correct. I'm amazed I haven't got it yet. I mean, fortunately, I don't have to travel in. I don't have a proper job, so I don't have to travel in with everybody else on the bus and the tube and the train in the morning, where everybody's all hugger-mugger and sneezing and wiping their bits on the handrail where you put your hand, and that's why it's sticky.
Disgusting.
Ugh. Let's take a call in. Well, it says Pimlico. Maybe that's where, I don't know, people trade their services for money. Owen.
I like it. I think it's Pimlico. Last time I looked.
Pimlico. That makes more sense. Yes.
So Pimlico. I like the. I quite like the idea. Pimlico. Yeah, could we name it? Farage.
Yes.
Wonderful man. I was watching the news yesterday, and the leader UKIP was trying to argue with the TV interviewer that Farage didn't actually say he was in favour of a second referendum.
That's this character. That's this character, Henry Bolton.
That's it. That's it. Thank you. That's it. So apparently, according to the leader of the UKIP, Farage didn't actually say what we all heard him say.
Right.
So, as you say, perhaps we do need to ask Farage what he really means.
This is the UKIP leader, Henry Bolton.
Henry Bolton. Yeah, that's it.
Who is, he fits right in.
Yes.
He suggested that his predecessor, Nigel Farage, misspoke. He didn't actually say that what we need is a second referendum. And that is absolutely clear.
We should have a second referendum.
He didn't say...
We should have a second referendum.
Nigel Farage did not say...
We should have a second referendum.
Yeah, that's absolutely clear that he didn't say...
We should have a second referendum.
Yeah, everybody would agree with that.
Yeah, it was quite amazing TV, and there was two journalists on as guests as well. One of them said, "I think you're just trying to rescue what Farage just said as being realising it's a big mistake." And Balls was saying, "No."
Everything about this is just utterly, weirdly bizarre.
Yeah.
Of course, Nigel Farage has actually backtracked, saying in an article for the Daily Telegraph that a second referendum was the last thing he wanted, but Leave voters had to be prepared, and he was confident that they would win again. He says, "To be clear, I do not want a second referendum." So that's not clear at all.
We should have a second referendum.
He says, "I do not want a second referendum."
We should have a second referendum.
That's what he said. He says that is how deep my distrust is for career politicians, and of course it's it's all Tony Blair's fault.
As you said earlier, Tony Blair's not an MP.
Yeah, and neither is Lord Adonis, and neither is Nick Clegg. Who cares what they say?
No, I think didn't Nick Clegg lose his seat only recently?
I don't think Nick Clegg's doing anything, is he?
No, that's right. Yeah,
he's licking his wounds in Putney.
Yeah. No, it's very confusing. I'm very confused.
Yeah, well, we'll add it to the things that are beyond our ken. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. So to be clear, Nigel Farage does not think that we should have a second referendum.
We should have a second referendum.
And I hope that that's clear. And if he does think that we should have a second referendum, then it's Nick Clegg's fault, apparently. Carrie says maybe we'll change our minds. No, I've said that one. Dylan says there's no point of a second referendum, just slowing things down, surely. I don't understand what that means. Fiona says, if the EU ever took us back, I wonder if Nige is ready for the naughty step. Now sit there and think about what you've done, says Fiona. Exactly, Nigel. You know what? I still haven't got around to the tighty whities. All right, well, I'll talk about that after the news and anything else that is... Seven Oaks. Hello, Mark.
Hi. I just ringing to say something about, I think, what Matt said. He said that we would suffer some kind of revenge if we cancel Brexit. I've spoken to the Commission people in London, and what they said was very much the reverse to that. They said that their mandate was the first choice to have the UK in the EU, and that they had the authority to let us back in on the current terms, even after the Article 50 period is finished, as long as it's during the subsequent negotiations. And that, in their view, the UK was good for the EU and the EU was good for the UK.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. But if we do leave, then they're going to try to extract as high a price as possible, because it's just business.
Well, I mean, they do extract a price from us because we are a wealthy country. We contribute, and for them to say they don't want that, I don't think is particularly wise. After all, the situation at the moment is as a result of negotiation based on the current position of the country in terms of its economics and wealth and so on. I think that some people talk in terms, they make it as if countries are like people, and it's not the case that the country has a personality, and so the EU has a personality, and they're getting divorced, and it's like two people getting divorced. The country is composed of lots of different people, and the majority is changing from one view to another. And the people involved in this from the Commission side are obviously sophisticated enough to understand that. They don't look at it in an emotional way.
Yeah, no, of course not. Well, maybe some do. No, I agree with your premise that if we by some magical circumstance said, oh, okay, forget everything that has happened over the past year and a bit, will stay. I'm sure they'd be delighted, because apart from anything else, it would mean a lot less work for them. I mean, they didn't plan for any of this work that they're going to have to go through now. Thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of man and woman time, spent bending over bits of paper trying to agree to vast, complex deals about this and that and the other. So yeah, I'm sure they'd be delighted. But if we do leave, and I expect fully that we will, or we'll say that we have, and what the eventual outcome is, I suspect it'll feel more or less the same as what we got now. But they'd be daft not to extract as big a penalty from us as possible, by which I mean taking as much business from us as they can get a hold of. Mostly, I suspect, from the banking racket, which we are preeminent in.
Well, yes, but that's if there is a significant difference in terms of the way in which things work after we have left, if we leave. But the point is that the transition period during which things will remain roughly the same runs till about 5 years after the referendum. By that time, there'll be 10% of the electorate who haven't voted in the referendum because they're too young. The general election will be coming up, and the MPs may not feel that it is wise to say to the 10% that haven't had a chance to have a democratic view on Brexit that they won't get a vote on it, but by the way, vote for me in the general election in a few months' time. So I feel it is Parliament's decision as to whether there will be another referendum or whether they will just stop the whole process. Quite how they do it, I don't know. But you seem to think that the clear majority of people now do not want Brexit to continue, and I would agree with that.
That's the polls that I've seen. But, polls have been wrong, but that's the feeling that I get. I mean, it was so tight, and it seemed that that the young were mobilised to a certain extent, but not fully. They hadn't really grasped the enormity of what was about to happen. And politics wasn't actually that interesting before Donald Trump and Brexit. For a young person to become, involved more than is typical for young people to, have their, they usually have their minds occupied by interfering with each other's clothing. You can remember being a young person, can't you, Mark?
I don't have a very good memory, and it was a long, long time ago. But no, the one of the good things about the polls, or rather one of the things that makes me think they're quite reliable, is that they're not saying that large numbers of people are switching about from one side to another. A lot of people who are sort of uncertain. What seems to be happening is that the people who voted a certain way in the referendum, broadly speaking, are not changing a great deal. What's happening is that the people who didn't vote, because they didn't know which way to vote, are making up their mind.
Exactly. The don't knows now know. Yeah, precisely.
So it seems much more stable than the usual poll situation in that respect.
No, it does seem a bit rich for the right-wing columnists and commentators to be outraged that those perfidious French are trying to nick our bankers. Well, of course they bloomin' well are. It's just money, honey. We do the bloomin' same. Dennis says, who will set fire to their house, destroying everything in the process, become homeless, etc., just to kill a small rat? That's what Britain is doing. Ridiculous. Is it? Helen says, if we have another referendum and Remain win, it'll make it 1-1. So the best of 3, or we'll have to go to penalties, and we always lose on penalties. That's a good point, Helen. So let's call the whole thing off. Here's a call in beautiful downtown Hastings. Hello, Annie.
Hi, Nick.
Annie.
That last text you rang out is like how I think, like it'll be 1-1 and let's go to penalties. Because my point is this, right? I'm not going to tell you whether I'm a leaver or a remainer, because I think, to be quite honest, we've got to go with reality. Reality is...
Ugh, I hate reality.
No, but like your last caller had some very interesting points, but it was all like wishful thinking. I'm more of a reality freak. right? Whether I voted... Seriously, you've got to look at it as reality. We're actually negotiating with the EU to come out. Yeah, the House might fall down, we might get this, Nigel Farage might... It's all might and wishful thinking, so I'm just concentrating on the end game here. And the end game is we're negotiating with Europe. Now, whether you're a Remainer or a Brexiteer, whichever you fall, you have to think to yourself, right, fact is fact now, we're going in. So all this moaning and arguing is my point, Nick. All this arguing, when you're negotiating for anything, big companies, Virgin, all of them will tell you, you don't let them know you're second hand all the time. And when we're moaning and arguing amongst ourselves, we're giving them more power. Right? And the power they've got...
No, hang on a minute. So we should all decide on a position and then everybody has to stick to it?
No. Well, yeah, that's how elections work, referendums work. Well, how else does it work, democracy, though?
Well, that's not democracy. That sounds like a dictatorship. What, Mrs.
How do you say that to me, Nick?
Well, I am saying
I'm
it to you.
saying... No, all right, I'd like you to explain it. Well, I'm saying, right, the country voted out in a referendum. A referendum is a diplomatic agenda.
It was a suggestion.
Yeah. Was it?
Yeah, it wasn't. It didn't become law. It was merely a suggestion.
So referendums are not...
no, they don't become law, no. But let's not get bogged down in that.
Yeah. Well, on my form, it just said yes or no.
Well, yeah, exactly. But
Right.
the result...
We all had chance to read up on it, you know, like...
Yeah, but nobody did.
I wouldn't call a leaver an idiot.
Nobody read up on...
Annie,
Annie, nobody read up on it. No one.
How do you know that, Nick?
I do know that.
You're one little man.
Excuse me?
Well, you're one man. I didn't mean to say that I'm a little woman. I'm a woman. But how do you know that everybody voted like an idiot? You know, they didn't know what they were voting
I didn't
for.
say
You've got to
idiot. Wait a minute. I didn't say idiot. I just said they didn't read up on it.
But how do you know that?
Well, what did people read up on? At the very most, they read a column in the Daily Mail or the Telegraph or the Express.
I don't read newspapers.
Okay,
I Google everything.
Oh God. Okay, so you Googled
Well,
it.
how do you get your information?
I Googled
Either newspapers or Google. That's the only two ways there is,
Right,
isn't
so
there?
people read their news feed in their Facebook page, and they read the columnist that they already agreed with. Nobody actually read up on it at all. They didn't do a cost-benefit analysis. Well,
They should have done.
They should have done.
It's tough now.
Yeah, we all should have done.
My point is, the decision's made, right? We're out. We're halfway through the negotiations.
No, not
And
even
what
close. Not even close.
All
we
right,
haven't started the
I'll
hard
give you that.
part yet.
Quarter way through. We've given away a bit more than I'd like or anyone would like, but it's not our thing.
Given
We've
away?
got to
What have we given away?
Well, I don't know. Do you know something, Nick? Sometimes I lose the breath of it. I just think to myself, a year and a half, and we're still arguing.
Yeah.
And there's all the European... Right, just imagine we had another referendum. Can we just imagine that?
Mm-hmm.
And if it came out, say, Brexit, then probably that would shut us all up.
Yes.
Right. But say it came out, because don't forget the country's divided, so it's not going to be a massive either way, right? So imagine it come out Remain.
Then what?
So then the Brexiteers will be marching for another referendum. So where does the referendum stop, is my question.
Well, we could have a referendum.
Is that lady right? It's 1-0, 1-1.
Yeah, on whether the referendum, on when the referendums stop.
Exactly.
We could all pitch a tent outside the school or church that we vote in and just continually vote on a daily basis to see how we feel that day.
Seriously, can I ask you a question, Nick?
No.
Please.
But thanks for asking.
Oh, come on, I never get on. Right.
Go on.
Would you prefer Nigel Farage or Barnier?
In what sense, prefer?
As your leader.
As my leader, well, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Either way. But I don't know enough about Michel Barnier to make a decision one way or the other. But I do know that it's a no, Nigel. Sorry, Nigel, but it's a no from me. And I don't want you to complain about it.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Exactly. Here's Crawley. Hello, Mark.
Hello.
Mark.
Yes, I have to leave, and because we leave the European Union, we should leave the Eurovision Song Contest as well.
Yes, straight away.
Yes.
If not sooner.
Yes, this year, now.
Right, straight away. You're like, right now, immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Europe don't give a forex about our music. We put in good bands and people, and they voted us 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 points.
Yeah.
No, like our music.
Nul point. Yeah.
Nul point.
Well, you certainly are making a lot of sense, Mark.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Have any idea what that was about?
No.
Why are we still in that? Why is that contest still a thing, by the way? The Eurovision Song Contest. How is that still going? How is the Miss World still going? And is Miss Universe still going? And if so, how come only women from this planet are allowed? I think that's speciesist. It's disgraceful. Graham says this country is divided. On the one hand, we've got responsible dog owners who control their pets and clean up after them. On the other, we've got cat owners who let the vicious little beasts roam on other people's property, killing birds and leaving their mess for others to clean up. Poor little birds. My unbiased opinion, that's all. Nick, says Graham. Yeah. Well, cats do kill way too many Tweety birds. I don't mind if they kill pigeons or mice or rats. But not songbirds. So they are to be dissuaded. How you do that, I don't know. Because keeping them in is no good. You can't keep cats in. That's just cruel. Any more than keeping birds indoors is... that's not good for them either. Birds want to fly away. So, yeah. And dogs are they're just so stupid. They're stupid and loud, which is a terrible combination. Nobody should be allowed to have a dog in a built-up area. I think you'll find that is correct. But that's just my unbiased opinion. Steve says, if the UK would have a vote on should we be allowed to vote, do you think that people would bother? No. No, I do not. And Steve says that I agree with Annie from Hastings. What did she say? Oh, people did use Google to do their research. Unfortunately, most of them left it until the day after the referendum when "What is the EU?" was the second most popular search. Yeah. And immediately after, where can I find porn? Now, is that just an urban myth? Because I do remember seeing that around about the time. What is the EU was the second most popular search. That sounds like one of those things that started as a joke and then became, ingrained in us as the truth. But I don't. I would hope that it's not the case. But I'm prepared to be disappointed. Not angry, just disappointed. Oh, by the way, you know that thing that happened in Hawaii? Well, it's curious that it should have happened today, or yesterday as it is now. Everybody in Hawaii got this text message that said, essentially, incoming. They said that this is an alert, we've got incoming missiles, and this is not a drill. And people were left thinking that they were under attack from, presumably, Lil Fat Kim. Or Ancient Orange.
I'll bring us into war.
Well, I don't know, maybe someone in Hawaii showed him disrespect, criticised his hairstyle, or I've got no idea, and he decided to launch an attack on Hawaii. I mean, would you be remotely surprised if he actually did? 40 minutes the people in Hawaii were led to believe that they were under attack from missiles and they should all take cover immediately, and this is not a drill. That's what that message said. Well, how curious that it should come on the very same day that this came out. A think tank. You know, I can only dream of being invited to think in a tank. Wouldn't that be marvellous? A think tank paper warns nuclear weapons systems are increasingly at threat from cyber attacks that could sabotage controls and even lead to inadvertent launches.
Oh no!
They said the likelihood of attempted hacking attacks is relatively high and increasing, but has received scant attention. Talking about nuclear weapons. But it's okay. Relax. Just think of the record that the government has in delivering fail-safe computer systems. Have they ever got any of them right?
No.
The paper from Chatham House, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, says the potential impacts of a cyber attack on nuclear weapon systems are enormous. Well, may I say, as a person who is unsure of anything, duh. You don't have to be a genius in a think tank to come up with that. The potential impacts of a cyber attack on nuclear weapon systems are enormous. Yes, as in the end of civilization as we know it. The authors warn that nuclear weapons systems were first developed when computers were in their infancy, and little consideration was given to cyber vulnerabilities.
Correct.
There are a number of vulnerabilities and pathways through which a malicious actor may infiltrate a nuclear weapons system without a state's knowledge. And when we say malicious actor, we're not talking about Mel Gibson. It's somebody else entirely. Widespread reliance on digital systems in the military means that communications between commanders, positioning data, and the supply of logistics chains could be vulnerable. Talking about nuclear weapons. Vulnerable. The likelihood of attempted hacking attacks is relatively high and increasing. As in, we're doomed. The authors, Dr. Beza and Dr. Patricia, warn that attackers could manipulate, jam or spoof data, leaving commanders unable to trust their systems and undermining confidence in the nuclear deterrent. Well, does anybody have any confidence in the nuclear deterrent?
Negative.
No, I have no confidence in it whatsoever. I think that either Donny or Mrs. M or whoever it might be will just slam his or her tiny little hand down on the big red button, and I would expect nothing to happen. A message would come up on the screen saying, error 404. Please consult administrator. Would you expect it? Something that vastly complicated to actually work? Of course not. They said, these authors said, during peacetime, offensive cyber activities would create a dilemma for a state, as it may not know whether its systems have been subject of a cyber attack. Yeah, it'd be like that film, what was that film? I bet my glamorous assistant knows. You know that film?
Oh, that one?
Yes. Precisely.
Yeah.
You know, the film. With the thing. And the people. It's exactly like that. Am I right? Of course. What's it called? War games. Exactly. War games. The only winning move is not to play at all.
Affirmative.
So there's some more on this, but I've just run out of time in this section. So I'll come to more of that in just a minute. It's very, very alarming, but there's nothing to be worried about because the government said that, you know, they have everything under control. Don't make any long-term plans. Called Maureen. Maureen.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Yeah, hello. Yes, you're talking about cats murdering birds.
Cats eating birds, yeah.
Yeah, well, they don't always eat them, they torture them, don't they? And you can stop cats from catching birds. I have an 8-year-old cat, ginger and white. His name is Jeremy, and he's 8 years old.
Jamie? You call your cat Jamie?
No, Jeremy.
Jeremy. That's
Yeah.
that's odd. Where's Jeremy?
Oh,
Jeremy the cat?
Yeah, he's a posh cat.
Okay.
He's only a Heinz 57.
He's only what?
A Heinz 57 Moggy.
Heinz 57?
Yeah.
What does that
You know
mean?
what that is.
What's that?
It means he's a Moggy. He's not a thoroughbred.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, as I was saying, he wears a collar and two bells attached to his collar. And as soon as he moves towards the bird, the bells ring and the birds fly off.
Right, like that?
He's never caught a bird in his life.
Oh, poor little
Shy.
pussycat.
And he really wants a cat.
Yeah.
I mean, a bird.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, it's in them, and they
know.
it's it's part of their makeup. So a bell, I think that would probably really, really annoy it because part of a cat's whole thing is to creep about silently and unknown.
Yeah, I know.
And everywhere it
But
goes,
he's
got a little
worn it
bell.
since he's worn it since he was a kitten, so he hasn't known any better.
Right.
But he has lost the knack of going for birds.
Yeah, well, that's good.
But it does work.
Right.
I reckon it should be a law that all
Well, yeah, it would be a good idea because they get through hundreds of millions of Tweety birds, which could be delighting us with their song, but aren't.
It's a shame, really. There's some lovely little birds around.
Yeah.
And it's a shame to have them killed.
I know. Particularly if they're like blackbirds, it would be a blooming tragedy if a pussycat just caught a blackbird, because it's not going to actually eat it, is it? Because I would imagine that your cat is very well fed.
They're well fed. They wouldn't eat them. They just like they torture them to death.
Well.
Nice little robin and a blue tit.
Oh. I'm always amazed. I mean, birds, birds have a very, very small brain, but holy moly, do they use it for negotiating through trees? They fly straight into trees or bushes. How they do that, I've no idea. How they can avoid obstacles at such speed is just mind-bending.
It's amazing, isn't it, really? Yeah. And how they build their nest fascinates me, too. It's just
Yeah. We couldn't do any of that, Maureen, but we have other skills like...
getting out of Europe. Which I think is crazy.
Getting out of Europe is one of a human being's skills. Okay.
Yeah, we have so many, don't we?
Right. Well, I was trying to think of one. I couldn't come up with anything at all. I think we're scraping the bottom of the barrel there, Maureen. That's one of our skills.
I don't think we'll have any skills soon with all this high technology.
I
that's
do
coming
think.
in.
I think you're absolutely right. I think the human race has gone into reverse, and artificial intelligence is just going to make that worse.
Affirmative.
Yeah, it's going to take over all of our jobs.
Correct.
We've got these little devices that can tell what to do, like turn the lights up or all sorts of things, and soon we won't have legs.
Yeah, pretty soon Alexa is not going to be taking instructions from us. It's going to be telling us what to do.
I know. I think it's a marvellous little thing, though.
Awful. I mean, unless they're advertising with us, in which case everybody should have one. But I just find the whole idea creepy.
It is rather, isn't it? Yes. My friend had such a shock yesterday. She was sitting comfortably in a chair. She comes round once a week. And I set up my Echo to let her know when it was 20 to 5 time for her to go home or to catch the bus. And it went up, and she nearly went into orbit.
Yeah, no, I just don't like the idea of that at all. I don't like something sitting there listening to everything that I'm saying.
It's very clever. I don't know how it works.
No, it's... yeah, it would probably be technology, Maureen.
Probably Google.
It's science, I reckon. Something to do with science, I bet.
Oh, it's got to be to do with science, isn't it?
All right, well, thanks for...
Well, I'm enjoying your programme.
Oh, thanks, Maureen. Cheers, my dear. Put a little bell on your pussycat. Then everywhere it goes, it will, frighten the birds off. But I think that the cat would probably hate it, although, maybe you'd just get used to it. I saw I saw a dog, which was the approximate size of a polar bear, sitting on the pavement with its owner, and it had one of the. It was all lit up like Christmas. It looked like the fiercest animal you've ever seen outside of the zoo, and it had it was like covered in fairy lights. I bet it was sitting there thinking, one of these days I'm going to bite my owner's face off. Let's take a call in Neasden. Oh, Steve.
Hiya, Nick. Yeah, I think what we've forgotten in this country is that when we come out of Europe, all we're doing is replacing Europe with Westminster. And because a vast majority of people who vote in this country never get anybody into Parliament, never get an MP. I mean, I've voted ever since 1982 for a Liberal MP for Chelmsford. Never in my lifetime of voting have we ever returned a Liberal MP from Chelmsford. So Westminster is totally unelected by me, and the vast majority of people in this country never get an MP into Parliament. And so, with coming out of Europe, we also have to reform our Parliament to have more people being able to say, I got somebody into power. Without that, all we're doing is replacing in Europe with Westminster, and it's unelected again.
Well, I don't know about the unelected part. There's not much you can do about the way that democracy works. I mean, fewer MPs would be a good idea, but then that would make the situation even worse.
What we need to do is anybody who gets more than 10,000 votes automatically gets a seat in Parliament. If that means we have 3,000 MPs, we have 3,000 MPs. We have to have the vast majority of the people in this country represented in Parliament. When we only have a few people represented in Parliament, the vast majority of these people say, they're trying to rule us, tell us what to do, and I have no say. And I don't like that. That's what we didn't like about Europe. And all we're doing is replacing Europe with Westminster. And in a few years' time, we'll be voting to come out of Westminster. We will be voting to leave Westminster. It's no joke. You'll end up with Manchester, Birmingham, and the big cities saying, we want more say in how our country's ruled.
Well, that seems reasonable.
And you're going to get Essex people saying, Westminster doesn't listen to us. We want independence for Essex.
Well,
I mean, remember, most of the revolutionaries started in Essex, and remember, George Bush and his family come from Essex.
What's that got to do with it? George Bush comes from Essex.
Absolutely.
Yep. So we have got people who know what to do. All right, not the best American president, but he's certainly
not the worst. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he used to be the worst, but now he has been eclipsed in that regard.
Yeah, so I mean, Essex Man has been revolutionary. Wat Tyler revolt and all that lot. So, but if we're just replacing Europe with a centralised government who doesn't listen to the people, who doesn't follow, who only follows the few people who manage to get MPs into Parliament, and
I get what you're saying. I completely understand. Well, maybe proportional representation is more what you're after. But I think if we went to the people and asked them would they like 3,000 MPs, you'd get the answer
no.
Yeah, it'd be a pretty strong no, Steve. But it's an interesting thought. I do think that. I don't know anything more about this than anybody else, really, but I just got the feeling that the EU was more interested in the little people, not leprechauns, than any British government that I've known. They just seem to be more interested in, less interested in benefiting corporations and more interested in benefiting the little people, not leprechauns, than any other than any British government that I've known. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I stated at the very beginning of all of this excruciating process, was that it just seemed like they were less corporately minded. That's just the way I felt. But like I say, I'll reiterate that I know just as much about this as the least well-educated among us. Holy moly! Have I still not talked about the tighty whities issue? Well, I'll have to talk about that next. It says, I demand a referendum to decide on our future participation in the Eurovision Song Contest. Let the will of the people decide, says Mark. Well, I don't trust the people to come up with the right decision on that regard, Mark. And Simon says, regarding the Eurovision Song Contest, I genuinely believe that if we entered a reformed One Direction with Ed Sheeran guesting and a song written by Elton John and Paul McCartney, they'd still all gang up on us and give us 0 points.
Stop whining.
And David says there's certain breeds of cat that are content only ever to live indoors. They have no desire to venture out. Much favoured by certain types of working person, he says. What? Prostitutes? What do you mean by that? Let's have Worthing. Hello, Aaron.
Hello.
Aaron.
I was thinking about Katie Price.
Were you?
To go for another Eurovision thing. Anyway, what I was going to say was European Union and all of the Brexit stuff. We voted whatever. It was very, very slim, narrow. In the Constitution, it needs to have a 2/3 majority. And it's really important that if you're going to change the Constitution, you have to do that. It's so slim that I really don't understand why people are, I guess, they don't understand exactly what's going on. We don't have any answers of where we're going to. We don't understand where our enlightenment will be. There are no exit doors out of this one. If we revoked Article 50, essentially, we could actually have to have the euro, essentially.
Right, well, you're all over the place, Aaron.
Yeah, probably.
I don't think that we'll have to have the euro in any way, shape or form, regardless of what happens. But that 2/3 majority kind of does make sense for such a momentous decision. 48 to 52 is never, like Nigel Farage said, never going to be finished business. That's what
I'm a nutcase.
That's what Nigel said.
Well, we don't want to call him what he says or whatever, because I wouldn't want to do that. But he is disingenuous. I listen to him all the time, and he puts stuff. He says stuff, and he said that he was going to put something on the LBC website about like the euro versus the pound and all that stuff, and he never did.
Well, that's probably in somebody else's hands. I would imagine that he gave that to a minion, that he didn't actually sit there at a desk and put it up himself. But that would be somebody else's fault, Aaron. Don't you worry about that. Listen, I've got to go because time's are pressing. James says cats won't go for rats, Nick. Like everyone, they'll go for the easy option, and that means poor little birds. Like everyone. What, like cats are people too now? Yeah, they do. They go for the little Tweety birds, which is a shame. Hundreds of millions are killed. I mean, they're just killing machines. But they're so purry and cute. By the way, I didn't finish this thing about the nuclear weapons. This think tank have warned us that our nuclear arsenal is likely to be the subject of an attempted hacking, and that the likelihood of it happening is relatively high and increasing with every passing minute. They said, as well as threats from hostile states, there's also a risk from highly skilled criminal gangs acting on their own or selling their cyber abilities to terrorists. Moreover, a system that is compromised cannot be trusted in decision-making, they said. Inadvertent nuclear launches could stem from an unwitting reliance on false information and data. So they are completely unsafe, our nuclear arsenal, but at least it's cost us a vast amount of money.
Fabulous.
And as well as threats from hostile states, the report says that there are many vulnerabilities in the nuclear weapons systems, and they've been in place for some time. But these have been made worse by new technology. And of course, we announced in 2016 that our Trident nuclear deterrent is going to be updated to protect it from cyber attack. I bet any day now they'll be installing Windows 98. And the authors of this report called for urgent attention on increasing cybersecurity, but admit that states are unlikely to publicly talk about the issue. Nothing to see here. Please move along. So, right, get ready. A porn star reportedly was paid $130,000 to keep quiet about an alleged 2006 sexual encounter with Donald Trump.
I cherish women.
She told a friend at the time that to get her to have sex with him, the president, and prepare yourself for this next bit. I won't continue until you are ready. This porn star told a friend at the time that to get her to have sex with him, the president, get ready, because this is a mental image that could stay with you forever. To get her to have sex with him, the president chased her around the room in his tighty whities. I'll just pause, let you think about that. Stephanie Clifford is her name. She's 38 now, is said to have been paid the sum of $130,000 in 2016, 1 month before the election, by Michael Cohen, Trump's longtime lawyer. And as part of the alleged deal, she agreed not to speak publicly about it. Hell, I would have not spoken publicly about it for free if I'd been in the same room as Donald Trump and his tighty whities. I would never have spoken to anyone about it ever, except my therapist. The alleged incident occurred at a hotel in Lake Tahoe during the July 2006 American Century Celebrity Golf Championship, which sounds like just the sort of thing that Donald Trump lives for. Beside bedding other men's wives and wreaking vengeance on anyone that makes fun of his hair.
Donald Trump is not a nice person.
It was described this week in a Wall Street Journal report, which disclosed the sum allegedly paid. In response to that report, the president's lawyer vehemently denied that any such sexual encounter ever occurred. But, huge, great big wobbling but. On Friday, a friend of Clifford's came for this porn star came forward to say that she had been told about it by her in 2006. Clifford's friend Alana Evans, who is also a porn star, told the Daily Beast that how Clifford confided in her about it at the time, and she was even invited into the hotel room for a threesome, an invitation that she declined. Whew. Evans claims that Clifford, the porn star, called her several times to come over and join them. She also claims that during one of those calls, Trump himself tried to coax her over. She said, Stormy, that's the porn star, Stormy calls me 4 or 5 times. The last 2 phone calls, she's with Donald and I can hear him. And he's talking through the phone to me and saying, oh, come on, Alana, let's have some fun. No, be honest, does that sound like fun?
No.
No. She's alleged to have said, all I'm going to say is I ended up with Donald in his hotel. Picture him chasing me around his hotel room in his tighty whities. And by the way, in 2006, when this is supposed to have happened, Trump had been married to the First Lady for a year. But, she doesn't matter.
The one that matters is me. I'm the only one that matters.
And by the way, that porn star's stage name is Stormy Weather. As in, rain showers expected. And a White House official said in a statement, "These are old recycled reports which were published and strongly denied prior to the election. Nobody wants to hear these." Not really. And you know what? I believe the denial. I do. It seems like fake news, doesn't it? There can't possibly be tighty white underwear that is made in his size. Or maybe Melania sewed 2 wind socks together. But I think Donald Trump is telling the truth. Just like when he said that he grabbed women by the bleeps, and that you can do it when you're famous. And when he said that he used to barge into women's dressing rooms at the Miss World pageants and see the girls naked, and he could do it because he owned the franchise. And when he said how he kissed women without getting their permission. And how he couldn't have attacked the 21 women who have accused him of sexual assault because they're ugly and he doesn't go for ugly chicks. I think Donald Trump's telling the truth on all counts.
I'm a person that wants to tell the truth. I'm an honest person.